Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. As always, I am Yori Folare, and I'm alongside Asukuwa James today.
Good morning,
Indeed,
Nigerians.
indeed. Staying on health, but not coronavirus. You know, there are other viruses. Unfortunately, we have to deal with it. You know, scientists have been saying to us that it's almost as if a virus is a virus. Take the common cold, for instance. It's a virus. We haven't been able to get rid of that, but we've all become used to it so much so that it isn't a danger anymore. I guess enough of us, I think a critical mass of somewhere like 85, maybe 90, maybe 95% have been infected. So it's no big deal anymore.
Exactly.
You get a cold, you wait for it to, wear off. But there are other viruses, unfortunately, that are not quite as easy. Now, in Kano State, especially, the government has been focusing on the polio, virus, and there's some good news coming out of Kano in the sense that it would seem that we've managed to stamp out polio. At least the government in Kano announced that.
No, even in Nigeria.
In Nigeria,
they are going to announce that Nigeria is now totally polio-free.
Totally polio-free. Apart from what doctors sometimes refer to, not sometimes, what they refer to as wild polio virus. That is the wild one. But we won't get into that because, first of all, we have a report. Let's take a background report and then we'll talk with our correspondent to find out what the situation really is.
Since 2012, Nigeria reported more than 185 cases of the polio virus, of which 26 came from Kano State, which has traditionally been regarded as the epicenter of the virus transmission in the country. According to a clinical infectious diseases publication, the number of vaccine-derived poliovirus cases peaked in Nigeria in 2009 with an annual total of 155 cases. Following that surge, 105 cases were reported in December 2017, 33 of which were reported in Kano State. Health officials believe Kano's decision to suspend vaccination in August 2004 led to a quick spread of polio across Nigeria, since Kano is the commercial nerve center of northern Nigeria. The suspension of vaccination then was due to claims that oral vaccines caused infertility and led to the spread of HIV. After a month of negotiations with the president at the period, Olusegun Obasanjo, Kano's political and religious leaders agreed to join the polio campaign. But that again suffered another setback in 2013 with the killing of 9 polio vaccinators while on routine immunization. The incident was reportedly triggered by comment on a radio program and inflammatory remarks against the immunization exercise by some religious leaders. Weeks after the attack, the Nigerian government suspended the operating license of the radio station in Kano. The government concluded that the attackers, suspected to be members of the extremist group Boko Haram, were incited by the radio program, which insisted polio vaccination was designed to reduce the Muslim population. The 2 radio journalists who presented the program were also charged as a result. A fresh case of circulating poliovirus was then discovered in a sewage located at Dramanawa Ward in Tarone local government area of Kano State in 2019. The new discovery interrupted the state, attaining a milestone of 3 years of being polio-free. Public health experts say it is sometimes political, traditional, or due to community interaction.
Sometimes if individuals felt that felt need is not to accept polio vaccination, rather they have other things, or they can now try to link up what they want with political phenomena and try to see that they want to push the government trying to do what they wanted.
Bashir Lawan is Deputy Director, Public Health and Disease Control, and the Incident Manager of Kano State Emergency Operations Center. He took us through the strategies adopted by the Kano government over the years that led to them finally winning the war against the poliomyelitis, spite of obstacles faced.
So Kano State was a pace setter, so to speak. Why? Because since July, 2014, we are without this scourge of a disease, well ahead the nation as a whole with several months. And this is not without so many approaches and designed activities by Kano State government.
Bashir Lawan insists that the already established protocols shall continue with concentration on non-polio ailments like meningitis and malaria. Somewhere in the heart of the Asian city, days before the declaration that Nigeria was free of the virus, some of its victims had converged to discuss issues relating to their plight. Their resolution was to ensure polio does not again run unchecked in Kano, and no child is ever again disabled by the disease.
If you look at us, you see we are a living example. We are polio victims, so we are giving our maximum cooperation to our nation, because we don't like to see anybody who have a polio in his body.
I am calling on the parents to continue giving out their votes for vaccinations so that they will grow healthier and not be physically challenged like we are. The Independent Africa Regional Certification Commission will make its final decision about the region's wild polio virus status in the month of August 2020. Nigeria would of course be declared polio-free, but these physically challenged here are already affected by it. They are hopeful that parents would continue handing over their wards for vaccination so that people like them would not be available on the streets again. Ibrahim Isa, TVC News, Kano.
Okay, thanks to Ibrahim Isa for that report. In fact, Ibrahim is also on the line so that we can chat with him briefly about it. Good morning, Ibrahim. Okay. Morning, Ibrahim. I'm in studio here alongside Sukwo. Now, of course, the thing about polio is that there is no known cure, but you can prevent people from being infected, right?
Exactly.
And so, I mean, the whole idea now is to make sure that we don't get any more cases. Is it WHO or Kano State government who actually is the authority that's going to be announcing that Nigeria is now polio-free?
Well, it's not the World Health Organization. It's also not the Kano State government, because Dr. Bashir Lawan, the State Manager of the Emergency Operations Center in Kano, who earlier spoke in the report, says today he will be on his way to Abuja, where the declaration was made. So it's not going to be declared in Kano State, but rather the certification agency, an international certification agency, is going to do that in Abuja. So the professionals in Kano have traveled to Abuja for the commencement of the certification. But of course, a lot has happened in Kano State, as you have listened from the reports. The fight has been on since 1988, and a lot has transpired, which led to them winning the war as we speak.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to be clear about the point you make, that it's not WHO that is declaring. So really, our caption is a bit wrong then, in light of what he is saying. It's not. It's the certification, international certification agency that in Abuja will be making this declaration, right? Ibrahim, can you hear us? There's traffic. So I say I'm taking the correction that you've just made, that it's not WHO, neither is it the Kano State government, but it's the international agency saddled with for certification that will indeed be making this certification after a meeting in Abuja.
Yes, after meeting.
Yes.
Because we'll be meeting with the president to tell the president that we are now polio-free. I know the organizations like the Rotary International, they've been the vanguard of trying to kick polio out of Nigeria, and they've done a very good job. So they'll be meeting the president later today. Ibrahim, so I want to know how far and how well did the government in Kano, do in trying to ensure that polio is really kicked out. They don't have any incidents or any cases in polio. of polio in Kano. So what effort, what magic did they perform?
Well, there had been lots of engagement between the government and the traditional institutions, and as well religious leaders. Those engagements arose, especially when in 2004, when there had been a total block rejection by residents who avoid giving out their children for vaccination, probably because there were insinuations that the polio vaccination was established to reduce the population of the people, and because of those clashes that had occurred, which led to also the killing of 9 vaccinators who were on routine vaccination in the city. The government decided to put strategy like engaging the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, and as well sensitizing the community on so many local radio stations with programs trying to tell the people the essence, the importance of giving out their children for vaccination. A lot have been put in place, and also there is an aspect of the security also. The vaccinators were given adequate security so that the people would as well have a proper engagement between the vaccinators and the community.
Okay.
So those were some of the strategies, the modalities put in place by the Kano State government, which led them to have won the war as we speak.
Now, in your report, in closing, Ibrahim, in your report, you say that the government in Kano is now focusing on tackling other, ailments that affect the generality of people. Briefly, what are those? Of course, we understand about COVID-19, but what other ailments is the government now focusing on?
The government is particularly focusing its attention on meningitis and malaria, as well as other non-polio diseases. But recently, not long ago, the government has launched a massive campaign against malaria, and lots of professionals were put in place at the local government areas of Kano State to ensure that women and children are being vaccinated, are being given treatment, are being given medicines to cure malaria, because the government felt it's the rainy season, and during the wet season there is always the scourge of malaria, so it's putting its attention more on malaria, but as well it's also focusing its attention on meningitis because of the weather. The heat is always almost here, and then there are other non-polio viruses also that the government says it would ensure that the surveillance put in place during the polio era would also be put in place to ensure that malaria and meningitis are also dealt with.
I want to thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for your report. Okay, so good news.
Yeah, exactly, because I know Nigeria was like the 3rd country outside Pakistan and Afghanistan, that had the wild polio virus.
Yeah.
So
and
we now that we are free, it's really, really good news.
But we got to keep it up, because thinking changed.
Yes.
And that led to success. Once the thinking changed, then the parents were able to, let their children be, vaccinated.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to other stories now. And the whole crisis in the University of Lagos has sort of got some resolution, right? Well, some temporary situation. I don't know, we have a report on that?
Yes. By Sharon.
We have a report by Sharon. There's a new an acting vice chancellor has indeed been elected by the Senate of the University of Lagos. Sharon's report.
To close observers, reports of a strained relationship between the Vice-Chancellor and Pro-Chancellor of the University of Lagos were not far-fetched, but the public could have noticed when the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, announced the date for the 51st convocation ceremony, which the Pro-Chancellor cancelled. What followed was a protest by the institution's chapter of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, who marched in protest and called for the removal of the chairman of the institution's governing council, Wale Babalakin. Months later, an emergency meeting convened by the Pro-Chancellor to pass the university's 2020 budget did not hold at the council chamber on the university grounds, but in Abuja. Registrar of the University, Oladejo Aziz, announced the sack of Professor Ogundikpe and the appointment of Professor Theophilus Shoyombo as acting Vice-Chancellor for the institution on the 13th of August, 2020. But within hours of the announcement of his removal, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ogundikpe, expressed dissatisfaction and termed his removal illegal. With that, tension began to grow. The Senate of the University of Lagos passed a vote of confidence on the embattled Vice-Chancellor and also passed a vote of no confidence on the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council, Wale Babalakin, for failing to follow due process in the purported removal of the Vice-Chancellor.
That an institution governed by a Pro-Chancellor, that's a lawyer, that should pride itself in the rule of law, and we have kangaroo, and for that matter, an alumnus of a faculty of law, the primus inter pares, the flagship of the university, to perpetrate this travesty of justice. It's very sad.
A peaceful walk was held to receive Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundikpe by the university upon his arrival on campus a day after his sack. Chairman of the UNILAG chapter of ASU insists that the act establishing the institution states that a joint committee of the council and the Senate must be constituted to investigate any allegations against the Vice-Chancellor and then make recommendations for the person to be given fair hearing before an investigative panel. On Friday, the 14th of August, while both staff and watchers waited for clarification from the Governing Council, the Pro-Chancellor Wale Babalakin restated the Council's allegations of gross misconduct and misappropriation of funds against the embattled Vice-Chancellor, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundikpe. He further claimed that he had the backing of the federal government.
The only comment I heard from the Ministry of Education is that whoever has the right to hire has the right to fire, but they should follow due process.
However, the Senate met and appointed Professor Folashade Tolulope Ogunsola as acting Vice-Chancellor. She is a professor of medical microbiology and first female Vice-Chancellor of the institution. Sharon Ijason, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay then. Well, I guess most people would have been able to piece together that report. What Sharon was doing there was giving us a timeline, as it were, but we were missing some, sort of captions to put in context. But I think it's very widely known. In fact, we even saw a picture there towards the end of the new, the acting Vice-Chancellor at the University of Lagos, Professor Folashade Ogunsola. Quite frankly, some people had said that this might be the solution. That is to say, at the time, maybe they would have to ask both the chairman of council and the Vice-Chancellor to step aside so that this can be sorted out.
They've already done this. They've already done
it has now been done,
yes.
But before it was done, people were saying that that might possibly be the only solution to this crisis. And it's almost as if the presidency was listening, because that is exactly what then happened.
I think it was the best decision, from the presidency to, suspended the two persons, that is the Vice-Chancellor as well as the Pro-Chancellor, so that they can go all out to, see where the problems are and how they can solve the problem. Because the issue is not about just the two of them. It's even about the institution, the name UNILAG, And out there, people really respect the UNILAG. That's a very big, that brand UNILAG. And I'm very sure that is why everybody, the matter has been, in the papers, in the media for a very long time. And those who matter have already weighed into it. And thankfully, the president actually, set up the special visitation panel to, go there,
now they're going to investigate.
And do the proper investigation,
yes.
Which is what most of the professors have been calling for. It's not about you just saying this person has been, is corrupt or has misappropriated funds, but did you also give that person the fair hearing? And that is why if you see what Professor Aguma was saying, we need due process to be followed.
Exactly.
And that is what the president has done. Let there be due process by the special visitation panel will now give everybody the opportunity to speak.
And as soon as we can get the professor, one of the professors, both of the professors, I think the point was made that the Senate of University of Lagos wasn't as fully actively engaged in this as it might have been, or as it should have been.
Exactly.
But it was explained at the time that, well, the meeting that was convened by the former chairman actually contained members of the Senate, and that the vice chancellor, who has now been suspended, was also there. So it was, one wants to be careful, step quite carefully about it. But what is about to happen? What has happened now? Now that the president's the visitation panel, he has set up a special visitation panel, and he's asked the Senate to do the needful, and they have not wasted any time at all in coming up with the acting vice chancellor. In fact, as I said, the phones are probably people will be able to phone in.
You see, the thing is, when the pro-chancellor suspended or removed the vice chancellor, everybody in the university thought a DVC, who happens to be like this, like if you have a president, the vice president steps in, he would have, selected or appointed one of the DVCs. And that is what they've done in this case. And that is what the Senate has done in this case. They've decided to bring one of the DVCs as the acting vice chancellor. The acting vice chancellor that is in charge of the development services. And if you look at it, this has been going on for a very long time. This has been, this matter, this issue has been, going on for a very long time, and people have been, complaining and saying that how can this matter be resolved, And from what we have seen and what I know is going to happen, because by 11, the governing council will also be meeting to rectify the acting vice chancellor. So it's either he approves or disapproves,
yes.
Because I heard that the governing council, they've also appointed John Momo, to look. John Momo is the president of the UNILAG Alumni Association Worldwide. So he has now been appointed as the chairman of the governing council. So he is going to either approve or disapprove of what the Senate did yesterday, by electing Professor Folashade.
Mazi Okoroafo, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. It's also from Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Yeri said what the UNILAG Senate did is the best option. Now, if you listen to one of the professors, which said that the chairman, a law expert, and the way the action took. Now, the thing is, it's a lesson to the federal government, and it's a lesson to the council, that they don't come and impose. They don't come and join the university as if it's a family and friends. That they must that procedure of you see, now ASU is on strike. The government has said ASU will come back, they will resume university next month. And that's the same with the federal government. The IDPs that you're telling them that you don't listen to them, but you're telling them to come back. Now, that is to say, the federal government, they are in a great dimension, the university are the independence, which is not healthy. Now, one of the dividends of democracy in this country, in any country, is what it's qualitative education from primary to the university level for every citizen. But see what is happening in our school system. I thank the Senate, that is, they stood their ground and follow the sequence that outside that's an interim officer cannot come and run the university, which belongs to the federal government, which is just an entity owned by everybody, not an individual. So other chairmen of other universities, the governing council, should let the lesson, not that when they give them appointment, that's a political appointment, not to come and thwart the system in the university, which is the main demand of any organization, any setup in any country. Now, what do we do now? Government authority should know that it is their own responsibility to make sure that every Nigerian gets sound qualitative education. When they fail to do that by disrupting academic activities in universities, it's not healthy. Because today, Nigerian students, they are facing a lot of problems. I agree that after graduation, they will not get it, but listen, let them go to the school and get that qualitative education.
Okay, then.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okora, for calling in. Really, it's like the President's Visitation Panel is going to do, well, I don't mean by saying what I'm saying that anybody was doing the wrong thing, but they're going to do the right thing. And this is what all the professors, well, I won't say all of them, a lot of them were saying that, look, in this imbroglio that we have here, we don't even want to say who is at fault, who is not at fault, but let it be seen that there's a laid down procedure. There are rules of engagement. It's not as if there's a vacuum, so we don't know how to go. Those particular regulations have not been followed, and Senate was a very large part of that.
Exactly.
You know, the Senate of the University of Lagos was a very large part of that. And so, as you were still talking about the brand, the University of Lagos, although one doesn't usually talk in terms of brand, but you know what I mean. The whole name, the whole aura, the whole value, as it were, perception of that institution was beginning to be, you know, sort of worrisome. What with all the unions in there now divided straight down the middle. So you had one part of the university for one part, the other part of the university for another segment. Now this was not going to do at all. So it's just as well that the president stepped in.
Yes, exactly. It was more like everybody has his own interest, you know. And for the president to have stepped in at this critical time, it shows that it means that there will be solution, you know. Because the thing is, there were so many allegations that were raised against the vice chancellor.
One moment, I think we have is it Professor Wole Atoyebi? Do we have Professor Wole Atoyebi on the line? Aha, Dr. Isuola. Dr. Olukayode Isuola, good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. The last time we spoke about, we spoke on, okay, thank you very much. You can hear us loud and clear. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So the last time we spoke on this subject matter, on this program, you had sort of explained the different aspects and saying that you had said essentially what needs to be done now is for the regulations to be followed, and so far, but that once that was done, you know, this matter would sort of resolve itself. So have we reached that state now satisfactorily with the intervention of the visitor to the university?
Well, the word satisfactory can be used with caution. But what is real at this point is that we have come to a stage where there is calm in the university. And there is calm because the Senate of the university invoked a doctrine of necessity. Yesterday, sat, met, and on its own as a body, elected an acting vice chancellor who will preside over the affairs of the university until otherwise decided through, normal process and due processes. Okay. That's where we are now. Whether it is now satisfactory or otherwise, we have to be cautious when we're exploring that word. It depends on interest, it depends on capacity. Recall that last week I told you that the university is an institution. The University of Lagos, more importantly, is a unique institution in the sense that it is about the only university that was created by proper laws, Act of Parliament. So there are rules here, okay? When rules are manipulated or they are infringed upon, there are also mechanisms towards that, I think, is what has happened in the University of Lagos. And I'm glad to tell you that, as I confirmed that last week there was no crisis, there is still no crisis. Everything is going the way it should, at this point.
Okay, because the point I wanted to find out if Dr. Isuola meant that in a particular kind of way when he had phrased it, because I was listening carefully to what the academic was saying, and when he said that the Senate has on its own elected. Professor Folashade Ogunsola as the university, but he then, just before the network stepped in, he had said, well, that's because it is the Senate that's been vested with this power. But I wanted to ask if there were other scenarios, because he also had said before then that you have to use the word satisfactorily, and when you're talking about the resolution of this affair,
and
with caution.
It's relative.
Yeah, you have to use the word satisfactorily with caution. But as to, and I like the way Dr. Ogunsola has put it, as to whether crisis or no crisis, there was no crisis when he spoke with us last, and he's saying that indeed it is still the same situation here. But I wonder if I can't begin to put words into his mouth. I wonder if he meant that, well, these are unusual times, and so because of that, you might expect one or two unusual methodologies. I don't know. I can't put words into his mouth, but it just struck me that one could pay attention to the fact that speaking for himself, and he's always been known to be, he will speak his mind, that first of all, he said, you use the word satisfactorily with caution, meaning that there could have been other outcomes. And he said that when you use the word satisfactorily, it depends on, well, what side of the conversation you happen to be on.
Yeah, remember even last week, he was also being very, very cautious.
Yes. Reverend Dominic has called in.
Okay.
Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori. Can you hear me? Yori, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, we can hear you very well. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Very clearly. In spite of us hearing Dominic very loudly and very clearly, then the network went and intervened. And we still have outstanding, so to speak. We have Professor Ogunsola, who is also, no doubt the network is trying to get him back. I wonder what Reverend Dominic was going to say, but no doubt it would have been to air this particular subject matter.
So, like last week too, Dr. Ogunsola was also trying to be, careful. It was saying that we shouldn't just jump the gun, Let's hold on.
Reverend Dominic is back.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Reverend. Good morning, you're back.
Honestly, I was glad when I heard what happened yesterday in UNILAG. If the federal government had been proactive in many issues we have in Nigeria like this, many issues we have here that festers and become monster will not be. This is a simple way to treat a simple matter that could become a big matter. And I want to give kudos to the lecturers, which is made of the body of Senate in UNILAG. They have behaved like teachers they are to solve this problem so we can move forward. Our educational problem is already a problem. We can't add it to UNILAG. But there's something I want to tell you, if you can allow me 10 seconds.
Please, go ahead.
The way the ruling class recycle themselves in this nation gives me a headache. Do you remember about the concession of Lagos-Ibadan Express Road by Babalaki? Do you remember the controversy about a new airport terminal by the same Babalaki? And now UNILAG. You will not be surprised tomorrow he become a chairman of Anate. I didn't say he's guilty. But when people involved in controversy, we should move them in some sensitive position in a nation so we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. But I think we'll just limit ourselves to, if we must bring up the name of Wale Babalakin at all, SAN, it will be in connection with his service at University of Lagos. And for the moment, along with the Vice Chancellor that he had something of a spat with, both of them have been requested to step aside so that there can be an investigation of the issues. And I think, I know that the presidency seems concerned with the principle of fair hearing, so that this thing can be thoroughly investigated. At least one, if you want to call it that, one thing that this has done is that it's brought up a grievous allegation, which we've heard from the parties that no, it's not like that. Yes, it is like that. Now there'll be an independent, as it were, investigation of the matter. We have another caller on the phone. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Yakub in Dokwemu.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let me take it where Reverend Dominic stopped. You see, Chief Jolly, this is the first time that somebody like us and the other people that support this government, they are very happy about this kind of act.
Intervention.
Exactly. Because we voted for this government, we expect them doing something differently from the other ones. that have been ruling this country before. Let me give you a typical example. Here, nobody says that the Vice Chancellor should not go, but the issue now is that the Pro-Chancellor, are they follow the due process? That is number one. If they follow the due process, I don't think there will be any station for allow Ula Balu concern this kind of a station that we are talking about. Okay. Another thing is, I didn't think the federal government always come in the way they did now. For example, look at the Magui issues. I didn't mean that they did it, they televised to Nigerian citizens, because this is an EFCC. I'm using it as an example. They made us to watch it live. The program go on, the TVC, the channels of this world, they televise it to Nigerian citizens. We know how those people handle the EFCC chairman. Okay. Who could have been saying, yes, this is the government I will voted for. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call too. Stay with us, please. We've got to go on a break now. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Well, we've got to sort of put the lead, as it were, on that subject. In any case, you were telling me that they're meeting, the Senate will be meeting today.
The Governing Council. I heard it's going to be a virtual meeting, so okay. So we'll get to know the outcome on TVC.
Indeed, so that story will be moved forward. Now to go to the other story about DSS officers killed in Enugu on Sunday, and then members of some traditional unions as well saying that they were killed. The numbers were, you know, there's argument. There's argument as to what the numbers actually are. All of this was as a result of reportedly an event by indigenous people of Biafra's meeting, IPOB. They had a meeting going on, and they're now alleging that they were in a prayer session when they were accosted by, was it a combination of the police and the DSS, Department of...
I think they started with the DSS. You know, the DSS got wind of their gathering. They went
and as you know, by the way, it's a proscribed organization.
That is number one.
Let us just say that.
Yes.
It's a proscribed organization. It's proscribed in Nigeria by law.
Yes. And then they went there from intelligence to disperse them, to tell them to leave. Okay. Because one, you are proscribed. Two, even if at all you wanted to gather, you had exceeded the number, number that you are supposed to gather. So all of that, you know, I think when DSS actually got there, there was altercation, and then we had 2 DSS officers were killed, and then the injuries, then about 2 bus drivers also got killed in the process.
Let's find out.
Because the DSS also actually, you know, called for reinforcement from the police, and that was where the whole thing turned bloody.
Well, our friend, Mr. Dennis Amakri, Deputy Director of the SSS, retired, has joined us this morning. Dennis Amakri, MON, thank you as always for joining us on the program. Dennis,
good morning, Yori.
Thank you. What exactly, we have newspaper reports, but do you have any inside knowledge, as it was, as to how this whole thing got as bad as for us to be saying some men died, either on the IPOB side, which, as I said, is a proscribed organization, or on the side of the DSS? And what are the numbers that you have?
I think the whole story is the public domain right now. And yes, the DSS lost 2 officers. And it is so sad because, you know, we are now dealing with a situation where a proscribed organization is going after the security forces and then killing them. They've always declared that they are not a terrorist organization when the government declared them as terrorists. And can you tell me the difference between what happened on Sunday in Enugu and what Boko Haram was doing by lining up soldiers and then shooting them or cutting off their head? You see, so these are the things. When people are not listening to the popular discourse about something, they try to get politics into the whole thing and cause problems all over the place. I think this was unwarranted, and I think everybody should condemn it.
You said that two servicemen, two DSS, operatives were killed. They, according to, as you said, the matter is in the public domain. They are saying up to, what, 12, 14 of them?
They're saying 21 of them were killed.
They are saying 21 of them were killed by the DSS. DSSS.
If they have 21 that have died, they should produce the names and pictures of those people so that everybody will know. I think even the video that has gone viral was showing the number of people that died. In fact, the person taking that video was actually commenting on it. So it is, according to them, well, they said 20 of them have died and no security person was killed. Yeah. Why don't they tell us how many were killed? Yeah.
So, sir, does it also worry you that all these groups, one way or the other, Boko Haram, IPOD, they seem to be using propaganda in quotes, to move their beliefs?
Yes, definitely. The major objective of any terrorist or insurgent group is to use propaganda to pursue their objective. So they will come out and tell you, inflate the numbers. All that is for public sympathy. They are looking for sympathy. Oh, we were on our own. We didn't do anything. We were praying, But when you look at it, what were you doing? And how do you all get all those patrol gruesome killing, where they actually burnt those officers down, And you can imagine the kind of trauma that those people would have gone through. So, publicity is what they are seeking, and they will continue to seek.
Are you surprised, Dennis, that the fracas, the event happened at all, seeing as, all the DSS, SSS, whatever you want to call it, is an intelligence unit, that they didn't prevent the meeting, that they had to try and break it up? Are you surprised that they didn't have the intelligence to have prevented the meeting from happening? Because it must have been prepared for.
Yes, actually, it's intelligence that must have taken them to that place
when the meeting was on.
That the meeting is going on. But I agree with you, Yari. There's supposed to be some kind of pre-knowledge and then actionable intelligence, whereby if you don't want that meeting to hold, it will, it would have been scuttled.
Yes.
And it has happened in different organizations in this country, where I remember when I was in service, when they were having meetings with NADECO people, and then before we get there, sometimes they also have their own intelligence before we get there. That area. We play these kind of house games, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, but of course, I know that the DSS itself will be investigating actually what happened, because
some might say that was a failure of intelligence, that they didn't know in good enough time to prevent access to wherever the venue of that event was. But in the meantime, Dennis, we have a call that's coming from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
And good morning to Asukwa.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, this issue of IPOB, I think the DSS as a security arm also has a blame on the matter and the government. This organization has been proscribed by the government. But there's a newspaper in this country that has not recognized that. They keep on escalating anything that IPOB or the leadership of IPOB says in their newspaper. And the DSS is working. Everything they do, that newspaper propagates it. And that newspaper has never referred to them as a proscribed organization. And the DSS is there, is watching them. If you proscribe an organization and some members of that organization comes to the street and start parading, what is supposed to be done to them? You arrest them.
Okay.
But they leave them, they allow them to gather, they allow them to, do what they used to do in the past, even after the proscription. That is why it is growing now.
Okay. Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in. So, Dennis, coming back to you again, I know, not being an intelligence officer myself, but I can almost liken it to the newsroom, where you have labor desk, you have what other desk, the different health desk. Surely there must be an IPOP desk somewhere in the security services. Who did they drop the ball on the IPOP desk in DSS?
No. There are many desks. In fact, many that you don't even imagine that goes on in the SSS. But I'll tell you, like the last caller said, now there are newspapers, there are even people who have been making noise, talking. And the security agencies will catalog what they are doing and saying and watching. Because remember, we are in a democratic dispensation now. And during this democratic dispensation, you don't do certain things, because by the time you go there and start arresting people, or they will say, the Constitution. Just truly enough, some of the spokesmen of IPOB were saying that the Constitution guarantees freedom of association, but you don't believe in Nigeria. So how you are quoting it's like the devil quoting the Bible.
Yeah, but they are a proscribed organization, and that's the point that was being made. How can a proscribed organization, in the face of the law, have the freedom to be doing as much as they are doing? Seems to be the question that that is being asked.
I can tell you something. It's not every time they gather together that you see security people going there to either scatter them or arrest them, and most of the time they actually watch them. There is serious surveillance going on, and then of course cataloging all the things that they are saying, because by the time it comes to brass tacks and we're in court, all these facts and details will
now
come into play.
Come out. Okay, Comrade Ayo, thank you very much for holding on. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Uncle Yori, it's just quite unfortunate that we are experiencing this kind of security breach in our national life. It is unfortunate that everything we do in Nigeria, we politicize it. Is either we bring in ethnicity or we bring in a religion. And that is not helping us at all. Majority of Nigerians do not believe in the Nigerian project. And that is the major problem we have here. Because I can't imagine a proscribed organization, there the security and the government of Nigeria to gather to do what? They said they want to pray. And at the end of the day, they kill our security men. That is serious. Honestly speaking, it is just quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because we are in a country where we operate on constitution and law. We have enough laws that take care of virtually everything. But because we are in Nigeria, we believe so much in ethnicity and politics. We politicize virtually everything. Every major national issues, we politicize it. The issue of this Boko Haram, it has been politicized. And the other day, the governor of Borno State said it is due to sabotage. And nobody is looking at that direction. Instead, we politicize everything.
Okay.
It is just quite unfortunate. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in, Comrade Ayo. A lot of people must be frustrated, Dennis, even in spite of your explanation that these are democratic times. The fact that if we have a functioning state, and if the state has prescribed you legally, unless somebody can prove that the prescription was illegal, and I don't think we've had that conversation yet. I don't know. Has it been tested in any court of law?
Because I heard that the leaders, they actually took the Nigerian government to court.
Which court? In Nigeria here?
Yes,
the court in Nigeria here?
Yes, that is why they can gather. That is one of the reasons they said they can gather.
Okay. Well, Dennis, I suppose as you are saying, even the president, in a different context, has expressed frustration with this democracy itself, that in his day as a military man, it was a much simpler affair. But now he says he's been advised that, look, you can't do like a military person, or you have to go through all the strictures of democracy. That seems to be the situation that we're facing here. But many Nigerians are still a bit confused as to why a proscribed organization can indeed be going about preparing for a meeting and indeed actually hold the meeting, after which the authorities come in to break up the meeting. But
yeah. Let's not make any mistake about it. Let's not make any mistake about it. Because when those organizations think that because we're in a democratic setting, they could go ahead and do whatever they like, including killing of servicemen.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
They have touched the tail of the tiger.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. I just wanted we wanted to sort of get some professional perspective to all of this. And as always, thank you very much for coming along to aid us.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, Mr. Dennis Makri, retired deputy director at the SSS. So we got to leave it for now. This is the situation. We don't even have the time to do our usual sort of
exactly.
wrap-up.
But let me just tell the viewers, 5 persons will be arraigned, because the police actually caught 5 persons in Enugu. So they will be arraigned today, and we'll be following up on the story.
Indeed. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Asukwa and I say, do your best to stay safe, please. Coronavirus is out there and it's very real.